Hey guys, this is another run of mine on FuSoYa's event, Siege on a Distant Moon. And the strategy here is pretty interesting. First off, credits to Destroth and Theologica, who was actually discussing with me on Eiko on this stage, where she can actually trigger her Rebirth flame multiple times due to the boss's trigger attacks. There are 2 trigger attacks here that happens 3 times each per boss throughout the course of the fight. The first is an instant KO attack that they will do, called Blood Slash Plus. The second trigger attack is called Drain Slash, and that attack does single target damage equivalent to 90% of your current health, which means that both trigger attacks can actually trigger Eiko's Rebirth Flame. The other interesting thing about the mechanics is that if the bosses queue both Drain Slash and Blood Slash Plus together, because for example if you pass through both thresholds, Drain Slash will always trigger before Blood Slash Plus. And that mechanic is pretty useful for this party setup here. The idea first and foremost is that you have Eiko on party slot 1, and this is very important, she must be in party slot 1, because your party slot order determines the order of your counter attacks. So Eiko being in party slot 1 means that her Rebirth Flame will always go off before Gao or Beatrix counters. This helps to ensure that you always get healed first and ensure that you will definitely meet the HP mission requirement on this stage. But because Drain Slash goes off before Blood Slash Plus, what this means is that if your counter attack is enough to bring the bosses to the next Drain Slash threshold, the bosses will then do another Drain Slash and they will queue their Blood Slash Plus, which is their instant KO attack, behind. Essentially meaning that multiple Drain Slashes will go off first later on in the fight before the next Blood Slash Plus will go off, and this will ensure that Gao and Beatrix counter attacks will also repeatedly go off. In other words, once you complete setup and start off the chain, the bosses will essentially commit suicide. And turning the stage's mechanics against the bosses themselves is always a personal favourite of mine. Obviously for this to work, you need someone to be able to bring you to high force percentages, and there's really no one else that can do this better than Hope. Hope can easily do his own force time and charge his own force time to 999% in a single turn. Gao and Beatrix is there as my counter attackers. You need counter attackers that do not mitigate HP damage, because if you mitigate HP damage, Eiko's Rebirth Flame will no longer go off and you lose quite a bit of damage there. So for this reason, I use Gao and Beatrix. Both of them are also pretty good for this strategy because their counter attacks will go off regardless of who gets hit by Drain Slash. Next thing I just want to quickly touch on is the Chocobo Summon and the Rain's Call. The only reason why I use both of them is to reduce the turn count. Otherwise this will be a 5 turn run as opposed to a 3 turn run. If you're not too fast about the turn count, you can use something like a Brother Summon for the Summon Blessing, and you can use another call instead of Seed Rains. If you do that, then your run will actually be a no BT mode and no summon mode run, which is also pretty interesting. I am now in Hope's force time. If you notice, Eiko already has 9 charges of Phoenix Pinions on her overhead, and I achieved that earlier on by giving her a Lunafreya LD call. Lunafreya LD call allows her to get 3 consecutive turns, so you can just spam her LD 3 times and you'll easily end up with the 9 charges of Phoenix Pinion. You want to then here use Hope to bring the force time all the way to 999%. Just spam Shell and Protect. Alright, now that I am at 999%, I swap Hope out for Beatrix and then use her LD. The LD will bring both bosses below 90% and start off the chain. The start of the chain here is a little bit RNG because Drain Slash will not trigger until 69%, and so the first attack that you will have to tank here will be Blood Slash Plus and someone will get KO'd. I got lucky on RNG here because both bosses targeted Eiko with Blood Slash Plus, and this is ideal. If Gao gets hit by Blood Slash Plus, he will still get revived by Eiko, but he will lose his Life Shaver buff, which means that he can no longer counter Life Shaver. Doesn't mean it's a run ender, you can still complete the run, but you know, your damage is a little bit less, and your healing capability is also a little bit less due to the loss of Life Shaver. If you did get lucky and Eiko is the one that gets KO'd, then you are really at optimal setup, because from here on in, the bosses will just do repeated Drain Slashes, and they will actually die before they can do their next Blood Slash Plus. My setup is pretty optimal in terms of weapons. Both Eiko and Gao has 5/5 ultimate weapon equipped, and the Beatrix friend support also has a 5/5 ultimate weapon. But I am fairly confident that even without that high of an ultimate weapon setup, you should still be able to do the same strategy. You may have to tank a few Blood Slash Pluses near the end of the fight and people will get KO'd, but that isn't actually dangerous because Eiko will still revive everyone. And near the end of the fight, just her Phoenix Pinion at 999% should still be enough damage to close off the fight. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think that if Gao gets KO'd and gets revived by Phoenix Minion, his counter Life Shaver will no longer activate, but his counter Landslide should still activate, so you still do get a bit of damage from there. Note though that only Drain Slash will trigger counter attacks from Gao and Beatrix. Blood Slash Plus only triggers Eiko's overhead. But as you can see, just the series of Blood Slash Plus for me is enough to close off the fight. So if you're lacking in ultimate weapons, just the counter attacks will bring the bosses low enough so that the Blood Slash Plus KOing your allies and triggering Eiko's Phoenix Pinions, like I said before, will be enough to close off the fight. So that's it for this run. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment and subscribe. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Shinryu fight. Bye!